Have you ever looked around and thought, why am I always the one who cares more? More effort, more emotional labor, more checking in, more explaining, and somehow you're still the one left who feels lonely. I can relate to this. I've spent many years feeling this way. And if you don't know me, my name is Cassandra Mullick. I am a registered clinical social worker and a certified life coach. This video isn't about fixing you. It's about understanding why this pattern exists. Because once you understand it, you can stop losing yourself within it. And to understand this pattern, we have to clear up one big misconception. What if caring more actually isn't the problem? Most people who care too much assume it's because they're too sensitive, too much, or asking for too much. Over time, that belief turns inward and you start thinking, if I just needed less, if I just cared less, maybe I wouldn't get hurt. But caring too much isn't a flaw. It's a strength that's been misdirected. We have to realize that caring too much isn't the issue, but feeling responsible for keeping the relationship alive is. It's really important to understand where that sense of responsibility came from. So if caring too much isn't a personal flaw, what caused it? Here's where the pattern actually comes from. And it didn't start in your previous relationship. For many people who have always cared more, it started early through something called anxious attachment. Anxious attachment isn't about being too dramatic or too needy. It's about having a nervous system that's highly sensitive to closeness and distance. At the core of it, it means that you want connection, but you're afraid that it won't last. So your body stays alert. It notices changes in tone and body language. And distance doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels unsafe. This often forms in early childhood relationships where primary caregivers were inconsistent or unpredictable. Sometimes they were loving, sometimes they were distant, sometimes they were available emotionally for you, and sometimes they weren't. Through these interactions, your nervous system learned connection isn't guaranteed. I need to stay alert to keep it. Now, a bit of a disclaimer. This information isn't intended to shame or blame previous caregivers. They did the best they could with what they knew. But as an adult, it's important to start noticing these patterns, especially if they tend to repeat for us in different types of relationships. As you grew up, you were conditioned to learn that connection meant action on your part. It was your job to sustain the connection. So ultimately, caring more isn't a part of your personality traits. It's something that you learned and you adapted to. And when you were little, you needed to do that to survive emotionally. But old patterns die hard, and we tend to carry those things into adulthood. And that adaptation doesn't just disappear when you grow up, it stays with you. This is why the patterns keep on repeating, even in your adult relationships, even when you think you should know better. Let's break it down. What does anxious attachment look like in adulthood? Well, first of all, it rarely looks like anxiety. It often looks like caring more. You check in, you notice emotional distance first. You explain instead of waiting to be asked. Often you're drawn to emotionally unavailable or inconsistent people. Not because you like the pain, but because it reminds you of a familiar dynamic from the past. You lean in, they lean back, and you work harder to close the gap. So caring more, that symptom of anxious attachment, becomes a way to manage uncertainty. And it's important to recognize that this symptom is not a sign that there's something wrong with you. It's a sign that things were inconsistent for you when you were little, and that was scary and confusing. But we have to be careful because managing uncertainty in this way can come with a cost. So Cassandra, what is the cost? Help me to understand. Well, caring more just doesn't hurt. It slowly changes who you are. When you're always the one maintaining the connection, you start to override your needs, wants, and desires. You minimize your feelings and you stay way longer than you should in certain relationship dynamics because leaving feels like a failure. Over time, you just don't feel exhausted. You feel disconnected from yourself. You didn't lose yourself because you loved too deeply. You lost yourself because your sense of worth became tied into effort. So the question becomes, how do we start changing this pattern without shutting down the essential parts of you? The solution isn't caring less, but it is caring differently. Healing anxious attachment means creating safety within yourself rather than outsourcing that safety to others. That looks like pausing instead of chasing, not over-explaining when you feel insecure, or letting discomfort exist without that immediate need to fix it. One thing to be aware of is that your nervous system is going to protest at first. It's going to be like, what the fuck is this? But over time, you can start to rewire your nervous system. Every time you don't abandon yourself to keep someone else, you rebuild trust within yourself. And that's where the real change begins. This is where everything we've talked about starts to come together. This pattern isn't really about love. It's about identity. When you've spent years tying your worth to how much you do for others, these patterns just don't affect your heart. They affect your self-concept. So when connection ends or it feels shaken, it doesn't just hurt. It shakes who you believe you are. If you're ready to start healing your self-concept and that part of you that is anxiously attached, I've created a guide called the Self-Concept Reset, which I'll link in the description below. And if you'd like to learn more about self-concept, check out this video up here.